Hi everyone, I'm Elizabeth Voss, Editor-in-Chief of Disobedient Media, here once again with Suzie Dawson, journalist, activist, and leader of the Internet Party of New Zealand. We're here for another episode of Decipher You, finally. Things have been really hectic in the last couple of weeks, so we're really glad to get back into it this evening with you all, and so glad to see you again with us. And I will hand it over to Suzie right now, journalist, activist, and leader of the Internet Party.
Hey everybody, how are you guys? Yeah, really cool to be back. It was an absolutely huge stream last time, obviously with everything that went on, and it was amazing to see our views up so much and so many more people joined us. So I was really pleased about that. I'm just going to check in with chat real quick. Elizabeth, do you have any things you want to talk about before we get to it tonight?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I thought it was really interesting because I remember the last time we had Decipher You, we had both said, we're so excited to get back into these documents, let's get back into things and get things rolling. And then next, within an hour, the missile strikes against Damascus started, the news of that started flooding in. So that was a very interesting episode. But genuinely, both of us are really happy to get back into these documents and start, seeing what we find with you all, because we love that process of collaboratively looking at this information with you. It's really a fun process. So I'm happy about that. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I've started doing the promised work of the write-up on batch 4. So I was able to get back into decipheryou.com today, and I've started putting that together. So I should have that for us pretty soon. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and once those are out, then I'll start working on a long form version. That'll be fantastic. Yeah, and of course, we all are very upset that Julian Assange is still not with us and not able to, interact with the world. So that is an ongoing thing that we're all aware of and upset about. But we thought that it would still be good to, recognize that, talk about that, but continue with this work that is supposed to make use of the work that people like Snowden and Assange have risked their lives to bring us. So.
Cool. I can see a lot of people saying hi to us on stream right now. Hi, Beck.
Awesome. I'll check into chat myself as well.
Hi, Eric, and hi, Cockatoo. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Fly. Hi, Propaganda. Yeah, please, Propaganda saying share the stream out. Yeah, please do let people know, guys, that we're live and that it's happening, and send them out the link. Okay, so should we just get straight into it, and then maybe discussion time at the end?
Absolutely.
So David says that we were at 188 last time, which is really helpful. Thank you for that. Which actually, we're not that far away from finishing the batch. We're more than half of the way through.
Interesting.
We're substantially more than half the way through it.
Interesting. That's funny because it feels like we haven't been able to really look at these documents as much as we would have wanted to. So I'm surprised that we've made it that far. But then again, the times that the last couple of episodes we have, besides the Syria events, a couple of episodes before that, we really did plow through a number of documents, if I'm remembering those episodes correctly. So, yeah.
Yeah, we did. Astute people will have noticed on my Twitter timeline today, there's a whole bunch of retweets of me from myself from November 2017. There's a reason that I'm going back through all of that old content, and you'll see me working my way forward through 2018 over the next day or two. And you'll get to see soon what I'm cooking up and why I'm doing that. But yeah, I've been going back through my timeline. I thought that I was only a couple of months behind on updating my site, and then I realized I was 6 months behind. So there'll be some new content going up on my personal website as well, because it's pretty out of date at the moment. Okay, so I'm going to share screen and we will get straight into the docs. Uh-oh, it is not loading. No. Oh God, don't tell me that's one of the, hold on a sec.
I can grab my version, just 1 second.
Oh, okay, so I'll just give you guys a little bit of an explainer here. So this is very unfortunate if it's what I suspect. So you may have heard that there's a big controversy recently between Russia and Telegram, which is an encrypted messaging app service, which is owned by someone who, I believe he became a UK citizen, Pavel Durov, and he registered Telegram in the UK. And they've had a big stoush over it. Russia has banned Telegram, but in the process of banning Telegram, they actually blacklisted, I think, like 20,000 domains or something.
I remember Snowden tweeting about that as well, yeah.
Yeah, And I keep finding out the hard way which domains are on that blacklist. One of them was my internet banking, which has been a massive pain in the butt, which is like my New Zealand internet banking. There's actually there's a thread on my Twitter timeline where I've named a bunch of domains that I can't currently access from Moscow. But it looks like documentcloud.org is one of them, which is a major pain in the butt because that's where all the hyperlinks go to for my Decipher files. So I'm really sorry, but it looks like I'm not going to be able to bring those up.
Yeah, I have them. I have them up right now. If somebody from chat just happens to remember the number we're on, I can share screen. It won't be a problem. But that's a shame. And I'm sorry that Russia, that has happened, because that's really unfortunate for a lot of people to not be able to access all of these different sites.
I see both sides of the coin there, but I am hoping that they will go through and whitelist the domains that have nothing to do with Telegram at all, but which have been collateral damage in this.
Yeah, hopefully that'll happen, definitely.
Yeah.
I'll just check chat really fast to see if anybody remembers which number we're on. I managed
today we're starting on 189.
Okay, great. Yeah, that is a good way through these documents. I'll just open a few of them, and then I'll share screen in a moment. I'll just open like 10.
Yeah, that's basically what I do. Oh, hey, Luca. Hey, Red Economics. Hey, Hope. Yeah, there's a lot of people here with wrenches from the last stream that we did where everyone was needing to share media. So no offense, but I will maybe de-wrench a few of you guys.
Okay, and while we do that, I will just start sharing screen, starting with the 189. There we go.
Hey, Patty. Hey, Slider.
So the document is called Challenging Assumptions and Approaches Together, the SIGINT Information Management Team. Is this the last one that we did, or is this a new one? Because I can just close it if it's one that we already looked at.
No, I don't believe that we've seen this.
Okay, awesome. Do you want me to read it, or?
Oh, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. All right. So it's from MG Quirk, who we've seen a lot through these documents, and it starts out unclassified, and it says, recently you heard from the SID or ITD team that will help shape a series of major changes in our approach to information management for SIGINT. This team, handpicked by SID and ITD deputy directors and mentored by the senior TDs, is bringing together the ideas and concepts that will drive our future systems development, architectures, and overall approaches to how we prosecute our missions. I'm especially interested in their efforts to explore some of our most basic assumptions and preconceptions about how we build and operate the global SIGINT system. And it says, I think the time is right, maybe even overdue, for us to communally challenge and debate many of our established approaches and assumptions to systems and developments. I say this because we're being shaped not only by technologies that are radically changing how our targets operate, but also by new opportunities and trade-offs for how we design and build our systems and services. Add to that our current efforts to reshape our mission architectures, national and tactical systems development, information and infrastructure technologies and services, and transformation programs. And it's pretty clear that we need to aggressively explore new approaches to information management. And it says, as you think about information management, don't limit yourself to the data, information, knowledge, or the technology used to store and manipulate them, but instead think in terms of the end-to-end SIGINT system. And remember that the end-to-end SIGINT system starts with mission needs and ends with products and services that support these missions. In between are all the parts and pieces necessary today, and more importantly, what will be required in the future. I look to you to help advance and embrace these ideas. From this dialogue, I expect to see even greater innovation and creativity emerge that will in turn help us quickly adopt and adapt great ideas and accelerate our shift to a new kind of SIG system, one that is global, self-aware, self-synchronizing, agile, and responsive. The SIG information management team will become the conduit and champion for these ideas, creating tools and forums to share and debate them, and capturing them in documents and actions that move us from concept to reality more quickly than ever before possible. Our success is dependent on you and your contributions to this team. And that looks like the end of that document. Do you see anything significant there, Suzie? Oh, let me just check chat really fast.
No, not really. Not really. That's just basically a pep talk for developers about development process.
Yeah.
Feel free, if you guys in chat saw anything in there, like yell out, please. But yeah, exactly. Independent outsiders saying this doc just sounds rah-rah. This is the typical kind of corporate speak where they can fill an entire page with words, but it doesn't actually mean anything.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I didn't see anything particularly significant. It's just kind of the same sort of Transformation 2.0 discussion that we've seen before a lot. So yeah. Awesome.
I think we
so
can
on
move
to the next. Let me just share screen again. I'm going to probably be a little bit slower than Suzie usually is because I'm not used to being the one sharing screen back and forth. Okay, so new SID mission interface for education and training from Dr. Leonard T. Reinsfelder, who is the SID Deputy Chief of Staff for Integrated Planning. And Suzie, do you want to read this one? Because I feel like I'm sharing screen and reading, and I don't want to be
yeah, it's totally fine with me.
Yeah, awesome.
I don't have the flu or anything, so I feel like fully like I can.
Yeah.
Okay. Ahead. Sorry, can you just take it back to the top? I just want to have a look at.
Yeah, sure. So,
Deputy Chief of Staff for Integrated Planning. Okay. Effective today, I'm designating unknown as the SID mission interface for education and training. So that's interesting that the name of the program has been redacted. Yeah. In this capacity, somebody or something will be the primary staff interface. So something to the Associate Directorate for Education and Training on all Signals Intelligence Directorate training issues. Whatever that is charged with providing staff support to the SIGINT Director, SIGINT Deputy Director, and SID Chief of Staff as they interact with ADET, which is the Associate Directorate for Education and Training. She is also charged with working with SID okay, so it is a someone and a something. Hang on. Usually when they're talking about an interface, they mean like a program. This is the wording is confusing me here. Primary staff interface, they're talking about a person. Okay, so it's a person and not a program at all.
Yeah, so designating the name is redacted. Yeah, their name is redacted. Yeah, it's
the name that's redacted. Yeah.
That makes sense.
But when I read new SID mission interface for education and training at the top, I thought that they meant that they've actually developed a new program by which staff can access education and training services. But no, this is just an HR update, this document.
Okay, cool.
She is also charged with working with SID organizations and establishing and maintaining common SID processes and procedures for training matters. Now, if you recall back, this strikes me as a little bit interesting because we previously reviewed a document where they had audited their processes against their directions from the SID director. I can't remember the word. They had a word, the directives. Sorry, that's what it was. It was the directives from the SID director. And when they audited them, they found that their staff were constantly doing things that were outside of process. So instead of their response being to train their staff to use only the processes, the approved processes, they decided that what they would do is write new directives that encompassed all of the things that the staff were already doing. So they changed the rules and the parameters of what they were doing to make up for the fact that they were operating outside of the rules, which I found particularly egregious.
Yeah.
And that was what caused us to look into, well, who really does make the rules for NSA? Surely, because we assumed surely they were bound by, congressional rules and laws and whatnot. And when we went back through the history, we discovered that no, in fact, NSA is governed. What they do is governed by, the NSA.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's so horrifying about it, is they aren't actually doing anything illegal because the laws are set up in such a way that it's just not governed by the public or our representatives. So
totally.
That was a horrifying realization.
Sorry, Crocodile's saying he can't get my attention. Oh,
Hmm?
as I turned off notifications in Discord. Sorry, do you need me for something, Crocodile? Just maybe shout out in chat if you need me. Okay, we'll finish the document and then we can get on to like how terrible the NSA is with creating their own
Yeah.
processes and then not even following them. Okay, such and such has a long history in training related work and a strong reputation that she brings to this new challenge. She'll be assisted by somebody else who also has a long distinguished career record on training issues. To ensure we include the entire cryptologic community, SGM something or someone, oh yeah, it's another name, SID senior enlisted leader has provided MSG someone to the team to work all training issues for SID military personnel. This position is the first in a series of changes I'll be making within SO1 that will more efficiently focus SID staff resources and provide clarity. This is all just HR crap, really. I don't even think we need to read through the rest of it. You can
Yeah, well,
scroll
I
down.
think that is the rest of it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
there's really nothing. It's just an HR update.
All right, we'll close that one out. And we'll go on to a job offer from no such agency. And obviously, that also stands for NSA. So,
and it's from Russia and Eurasia.
Interesting.
From the National Intelligence Officer. So, no such agency is obviously a colloquial
joke, yeah.
name for the NSA.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, here's another tale of how an employee wound up here at NSA. I'm not quite sure how I came to work at NSA. It all happened so quickly, and through the haze of time, it's all a bit of a blur. I do know that I never had. See, that in itself is an anomalous sentence. I don't know how I came to work at the NSA. Really, I do not. I do know that I never had any real ambition to be a spy when I grew up. To be honest, I guess I wound up here on a whim. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, my senior year in high school, that is, we received notice that the government, I don't believe they specified NSA, it was 1977 after all, and NSA still stood for no such agency, would be conducting some aptitude tests, or more accurately, career qualifications batteries. Anyone interested could sign up to take the tests, so on a whim, I did. The tests were given in April, and a group of my classmates and I gathered in the classroom to have our aptitudes tested. If my memory serves correctly, the CQBs were administered by a man wearing a trench coat, dark glasses, and a fedora. But after so many years, I may be a bit fuzzy on this point. So they're just trying to keep it light and comedic and humorous. That's my interjection. Several hours and many hundreds of ovals neatly filled in with my number 2 pencil later, I left the testing room and returned to the business of finishing high school. I had absolutely no idea what the test results would be used for. I still had no idea what NSA was or what NSA did. But at that time, neither did James Bamford. That's a very interesting reference.
Very, yeah. And I think it's very interesting that they're actually, even though they're trying to portray this positively, they're basically describing the same issue that we've looked at before in the, student submissions being used when the students don't know that they're being used by the government to conduct like future planning scenarios, possibly, so this kind of, as they say, a blur leading to their, involvement with the NSA is interesting. I'll put it that way.
Crocodile's trying to tell me we should have begun at 119, not 189. So we were not as far through as we thought, but that's okay. We can double back. Absolutely. That they are recruiting straight out of high school.
Yeah,
is definitely an interesting point there.
And the way that they're describing, like, I had no idea what the test was going to be used for. Like, that's exactly what we've looked at before in different aspects of academia crossing over with, being recruitment.
So they had an essay.
Exactly.
They had an essay competition for high schoolers. So we read in one of the documents, and that essay was basically being used for strategic planning by the NSA. High school students' essays. It's quite unbelievable, but true. The reference to James Bamford is interesting because James Bamford is the one who actually wrote the document about the history of the NSA that we were just referencing before when we were talking about the directives that they operate under and how they create their own processes and are effectively in charge of themselves. It was James Bamford that unearthed that information. Okay, I'll continue reading. I scarcely gave the CQBs a second thought as I successfully graduated and then began to prepare myself for the next great life step, college. At the time, I'd decided to study journalism or at least something to do with English. I'd secured some scholarship money and I was all set to attend Western Maryland College in the fall. Then in July, I received that fateful phone call that would forever change my life. Through the fog of so many years, I think it went something like this. NSA guy, this is NSA calling. You did very well in the artificial language portion of the CQB and would like to offer you a place in a language training program. Can you start in August? Me, okay. Well, what else would an 18-year-old kid say when offered money to attend school? So I went through all the background checks that didn't take long given my rather brief background and in processing. I was told at one briefing that would be contacted telephonically about the starting date for the course. I wondered why they just couldn't call us. In August, I arrived at the National Cryptologic School as a member of the first RS-15A Russian language program class exclusively for high school graduates. At the end of an intensive and enjoyable 58 weeks, I was a full-fledged Russian transcriber. Now, nearly 28 years, many jobs, linguist, collector, staff officer, manager, and 4 overseas tours later, I'm the Deputy SIGINT National Intelligence Officer for Russia and Eurasia. I'm still not quite sure how I wound up at NSA, but I do know why I stayed. Here we go. Working for NSA has afforded me the opportunity to see a big chunk of the world and have a front row seat to many history-altering events. I'm glad I stumbled across that obscure opportunity all those years ago. I'm also glad that I paid a pretension in Spanish class that certainly helped me to score well in the artificial language test.
Well, it looks like the end of the document, but I think it's interesting too. It just reminds me a little bit of the Reality Winner situation where she's extremely young. And, there are a lot of these high school students and high school age people that are being, put into these situations. And, I don't know, you could see that as a little bit problematic, I suppose, but I don't know if you have a take on that or if chat does, but. Also, do you want me to close out the documents that we're looking at right now so that I can then go back to like 119 or?
I think them. Oh yeah, sure. If you want to, yeah, sure. Do you want to just cancel the screen share for a moment?
Okay, sure, absolutely.
Okay, so for me, I think the implication of them recruiting them that young means that I'm not entirely convinced that they're making an informed choice.
Yeah, that's the issue that I think is definitely brought up there for sure.
They haven't had a chance. Like, yeah, Hope says they're not even old enough to drink. Like,
I think my internet may have just crapped out a bit.
Oh, your video seems to have frozen a little bit.
I'm not sure, but
we've still got your audio.
A little bit.
We've still got your audio, but your video is frozen.
Yeah, so yeah, actually your video was frozen for me, and I thought my internet is usually actually the problem, so I thought that may have been happening. Anyway, yeah, so I think the high school age, think about any other decisions you'd make at that age of just ending high school. Like, do you think that a kid that age is actually able to make a decision that is going to, affect the rest of their entire life? Yes, no, maybe, I don't know. It's debatable, I think.
It feels like to me that they're essentially trapped from the point that they say, yes, I'll take the money to go to school. They're trapped. And I think that I see sometimes a parallel between the people that the agencies target as targets and the people that they target to become staff.
Yeah.
Because if you know that the NSA wants you, if you have the NSA contacting you, if you understand the weight of that agency, that could be incredibly intimidating. I would think that would be very, very intimidating, and it would be quite difficult to say no to. It's kind of like when the FBI, is pressuring these people to become informants. It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah,
they make their presence known in their life. They impose themselves into people's lives in this really heavy-handed way. And they intimidate them. And I would think that it could be quite intimidating. Either, they sell them the fairy tale of, the James Bond and you'll be, stopping nuclear weapons, getting to the bad guys or whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
But what if the student is reticent? What if the student doesn't really want to, but the NSA has decided they want them? That could be a really unhappy, uncomfortable situation pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I think actually that's really something that is experienced probably across all of the different, arms of the military and their recruitment process. I know from my life, I've seen friends and some family members be consistently called by military recruitment officers because they scored well on a test. Very similar, not the NSA, but similar process in the US for sure. It can be very, consistent, I guess, is the best word I can use there. But, and I think also one thing is, I mean, we've looked before at these college age essays, as we were just saying, but I think there is a big difference between recruiting college age kids and recruiting high school age kids. I think that's a really big difference in, maturity level. I think that's really concerning, honestly, to be recruiting straight out of high school like that.
Totally. I'm just watching chat and people have some pretty interesting comments about this.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people that are in the US have had similar instances with either themselves or their family members or friends being contacted very persistently by military recruitment officers. It's really common.
People are pointing out that the agencies wanted to recruit both Julian Assange and Jacob.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, that's a very interesting point.
And obviously, neither of them were even slightly interested in being recruited by them. And what happens? They become aggressively targeted. The same principles that prevent them from being willing to work with the NSA ultimately are the principles that contribute to the targeting of them by the NSA.
Yeah, very true. And I remember there was a really great...
I think that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, yeah, you either comply, or you're either going to be on one side or the other. You're either going to be sucked into the agency, or you're going to become a target of the agency. There's no other third path.
Yeah, well, I think it was on Twitter, and it was something that either WikiLeaks or WikiLeaks Task Force had retweeted, and it was talking about the fact that Julian could have been, a millionaire in Silicon Valley, along with, so there are like these NSA tracks, there's this Silicon Valley track, which often, intermingle, but he chose a moral and a stand that was full of integrity instead. And I think that is a really important topic for Assange.
He chose the hard road, but it's
exactly.
The right road.
Exactly. And others too, like, a lot of different individuals have done similar things. And, that's why we're here. That's why we're doing Decipher You, is because of their decisions. So really interesting point to kind of cover again, because I know we've said that before a number of times on Decipher You, but seeing this recruitment stuff, it is a good subject to kind of recover.
Luca Clementi says, I was called constantly for 3 years after doing very well on a test. Is it because I have no military experience, no experience with these agencies other than being a target of them, but I have tons of experience in recruitment and IT recruitment and in commercial recruiting. And is it a similar situation? Is it that they have in-house recruiters or outsourced recruitment agents? Like, who is it that's calling you, for 3 years?
Well, I can tell you that, a member of my family was called very consistently for at least 6 months by military recruitment. And it was because of doing well on a high school test. Same thing. And not just that member of my family, but also my friends who were also in high school, because they, as this person was saying in 1977, they do these tests in high school very routinely. And it's not just the NSA, it's the military in general. That suggests that the schools are
complicit.
Exactly. It's a very, it's a widespread normal thing in the end of American high school that you are given these tests. And that's where I think you also see a lot of kids that are very bright from lower socioeconomic backgrounds getting into the military, because this is an option that doesn't require them to pay for college, and it gets into a whole other bigger subject, but it's very common in the US. It was not common in Australia, because I was experiencing both of those situations during my late teen years. So yeah, it's definitely different than even the Australian, and I imagine the New Zealand high school situations. The military is just much more openly present in the high school kind of process.
Shauna Smith is saying that it's IQ based. Is this why they're obsessed?
Yes.
Obsessed with IQ tests?
I don't know about I don't know about that, but I do know that that's basically what it is. They give you a test in high school that basically is intelligence, and obviously, different agencies, different arms of the military will want different things. Obviously, the NSA is very much into linguistics, but based on whatever test, they definitely aggressively target high school kids, and I think that that's I don't think it's something that should be happening, but it's much, much, much more common in America than Australia, as far as my experience of it.
Kathy just said in her small rural school, military recruiters work very closely with the guidance counselor.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's so much more streamlined and integrated into the high school experience. I guess that's what I'm trying to get across here. It's not like you independently outside of school go seek out a test like this. It's very much done in the high schools, like as part of the whole process.
Kathy says out of a graduating class of 38, at least 6 joined.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Kathy. Yeah, no, I had friends, like very, very close friends whose like siblings went into the Air Force and are now over in Hawaii because of that exact situation of doing really well in the high school test and then just going into it from there.
Lucas said that he was repeatedly told he could carry on his family legacy of being in the services and go even further than they did.
Yeah, the ASVAB test is specifically what I'm talking about. Yeah, the high school ASVAB test, exactly. Yeah, and actually, It's been so long since I even thought about this. I've just even the entire time we've done Decipher You, I hadn't remembered that. But yeah, because I've been more thinking about this in terms of college kids and recruitment in college, which is what I was thinking of as more normal. But this is absolutely, yeah, ASVAB is mandatory. It's across the board, and it's not specific to the NSA. It's across the board, military, Navy, Army, Air Force, all of it. I believe, if I'm remembering it right. I may be wrong about that, but
see, this is so foreign to me because there was no military presence in New Zealand schools at the time that I was going through school. That may have changed since. For example, sometime last year, I saw one of the cities down south, I think Christchurch or somewhere around there. They were having like gun days where like the army was bringing in rifles and showing kids how to shoot rifles, like, but these are like 11, 12-year-old kids that they were doing it to, and I was horrified because we never had anything like that in school ever, and I was just couldn't believe that kind of thing was starting to happen. But yeah, there was absolutely nothing like that in New Zealand. But we don't have much of a military to speak of. We did have there was like Air Force cadets programs, like, I don't know, for like 8 to 10-year-olds or something, where they'd go on camps or like, they frame it as being an extracurricular activity.
Yeah, I understand. Like, but I had the same experience in Australia. There was no ASVAB test. There was no like test that you were going to do that was military. And that's why like I noticed the difference very much. It was a completely different experience.
She's on it, says, I read in documents they specifically target lower socioeconomic and even look at other demographics like race, religion.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
That's how the George Bushes of this world, are never on the front line.
I'm just reading chat 1 second.
A-Slider says, Dad did his mechanical apprenticeship in the army at 14, Suzie, New Zealand Army. This is in the 60s. Yeah, I didn't think about the apprenticeships because all those apprenticeship programs have been shut down before I was in school. I'm a little bit young for that. And I thought the apprenticeship programs in New Zealand were predominantly around the trades and services. I didn't realize that the army was involved.
It's very interesting stuff. This is an interesting finding for me that I think we should make note of. Is just, and it's not something that's unknown, but just noting the fact that they are actively recruiting kids in high school. I think that it's something that, while it's not new, it is noteworthy.
Can you just drop the link in Zoom chat for me and I'll add it to the notes?
Yeah. Just one second. Yeah. Wait. Was it Letter from Oz? Wait, which one were we looking at? I may have closed it already. Okay, yeah, it was job offer from no such agency. I got it.
Yeah, that was it.
do I need to put the quotation marks around the link, or will it just be normal?
No, it's fine. Just dump the link in. It'll be perfect.
Okay. I can jump it in Zoom chat as well. Awesome. Great. So at this point, do we want to head back to 119 if that's where we were initially up to?
I think that we should. That would
Okay,
be really
cool. Good. I will do that as you note down the finding. Just 1 second.
Cool, done.
I'm just closing out the ones we had open initially. So 119 is titled Visit to MHS Spawns a Bonanza from Messiah Users. So that sounds like something I've never heard of, but
I'm actually just going to grab I just realized I'm at 5% battery.
Yeah.
I'm just going to grab my charger, but I'll just take my, so I can listen to you if you're going to read.
Yeah, no, I'm just like literally I'm in the process of physically clicking on these links to open up about 10 documents, and then I'll share screen and I'll start reading. No problem at all. So I have no idea what Messiah is. It's got to be some sort of program, but I have no clue what. Let me see. Sharing with Safari. Here we go. Okay, as I said, so S1221 visit to MHS spawns a bonanza from Messiah users from Redacted of the Reporting and Tools branch, and this is in 2005. And it says this and a follow-on article will highlight ways in which a recent trip to Menswith Hill Station by members of the Reporting Tools branch spawned an enhancement of the Messiah reporting tool and of the training options available to users of the tool. And so the document begins saying in June of 2004, members of the Reporting Tools branch visited Menwith Hill Station, MHS, to discuss the site's concerns about using Messiah as their primary product reporting tool. Station personnel cited a high priority need to forward robust product report source data and metrics to Plus, a need that Messiah did not then satisfy. To be sure, Messiah allowed users to satisfy the minimum requirements of SID 369. Analysts could forward some 10 fields of source data to Plus via product tip-off, PTO, and Klieg-Lite reports. This solution required, however, that all analysts be trained and proficient in using Messiah both for product reporting and for Klieg-Lites. I'm not sure what any of this is really talking about. I have no idea if Suzie does, but we'll just see when we get through this. But so what the station needed and wanted was a feed mechanism similar to that used by Skyrider, which employs a secure file transfer protocol for handling sensitive series reports and allows forwarding of some 40 fields of data. The forward information includes report histories, right to release tracking, and USSID 18 information. The latter was being stored in manila folders at analysts' desks. So when the S1221 team returned home and began investigating options for solving the problem, it became evident that many of the extended enterprise elements that will be receiving Messiah as part of the High Castle suite harbored the very same concerns as analysts at Menwith Hill Station. Moreover, some sites that were already using Messiah for the technical reporting were asking for Skyrider as well. They were willing to expend the additional support and training effort that will be required for a second reporting tool in order to obtain less cumbersome access to Plus. Clearly, then, a solution similar to the mechanism used by Skyrider would satisfy users' needs. Such a mechanism had the added advantage of standardizing the process across multiple reporting systems, since it was also incorporated in the Content Preparation Environment, or CPE, formerly SIGINT On Demand. See related article. S1221 set about to design and implement the interface. Messiah's Plus Feed service was completed in February 2005 and is currently undergoing beta testing at USA 70. Initial test results are promising, and the service is expected to be available as a standard Messiah option in the April-May 2005 timeframe. The new interface will mirror the service provided by both Skyrider and CPE. It will allow forwarding of the same fields in an identical format using a mask template provided by S1221 that will require only minimal tailoring by each site. The analysts and managers at Menwith Hill Station can be proud that the concerns which they expressed to the visiting S1221 team have resulted in a significant expansion of Messiah's capabilities. They can also be proud that the visit sparked a similar improvement in the training offense offered to new Messiah users. A future article in SID Today will highlight S1221's development of a web-based Messiah training course for analysts and reporters, a course that was requested by MHS and is also undergoing beta testing, with rollout expected in April 2005. And that looks like the end of the document. I will have to wait for Suzie. I don't know if you're back yet, but I don't. It sounds like this is obviously a tool of a tech tool that they are implementing.
And what it means is that they were wanting to force them to use something, but they couldn't because it wasn't integrated with something else. And the people, Menwith Hill are the GCHQ guys. GCHQ station in England. And
yeah, that makes sense.
Basically, unless it has plus integration, then we'd prefer not to be using it. But the NSA wanted them to use it, so the NSA developed integration capabilities for it. It's just boring developer stuff, basically.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll move on to the next document.
Yeah.
I'll read it, I guess. I don't mind either way. It doesn't matter to me. I'll just start share real fast. Let me see. Always takes me a minute to find Safari again. Okay, so this one is titled A Glimpse of the Future of NSA's Foreign Partnerships. Interesting. Now, this looks interesting. It's from Sharon Linkus, and who is the Foreign Affairs Staff Officer. And this is obviously again in 2005, and the subtitle is NSA's Foreign Affairs Director Gary Grantham briefed the SIGINT Committee on upcoming initiatives. And it looks like it's secret and top secret. It says on 11th of February, Gary Grantham, Principal Director for Foreign Affairs, briefed the National SIGINT Committee on NSA's Foreign Affairs program. Gary gave the members of the committee a glimpse of the future, focusing on some upcoming initiatives with our foreign partners. Gary talked about foreign partners in general, pointing out that NSA foreign relationships don't just benefit NSA CSS, but the US defense and intelligence communities as well. The contributions of our partners were also highlighted, from support to our efforts against global terrorism, weapons proliferation, and regional conflicts, to information sharing for strategic warning, treaty monitoring, and technology transfer. Then we move on to some top secret information that says future happenings. Gary mentioned that the Foreign Affairs Directorate was already preparing for the 2006 Winter Olympics that will be held in Turin, Italy. The support given to the Greeks for the 2004 Summer Olympics provides a successful model to be shared with the Italians. The multinational collaboration in the Pacific, also known as SIGINT Senior Pacific, is another effort in which FAD has been fully engaged, working closely with the SIGINT Directorate, the Counterterrorism Product Line, the NSA CSS field representatives. April will see the first meeting of the new Pacific Multinational Forum for SIGINT collaboration. The intent is to begin the trust-building process, establish a common understanding of the purposes of the group, discuss a proposed organizational construct and concept of operations, and establish an executive board. Gary touched on the NSA relationships with Ethiopia and Pakistan, stressing that both will continue to be key in our success in the global war on terrorism. Now, that's really interesting to me. But anyway, so Gary also discussed FAD's previous and future work with the Iraqis and Afghans. While neither relationship is a formally established NSA partnership, at the direction of the Director of Central Intelligence, FAD has moved aggressively to help these countries establish and enhance their SIGINT capabilities. Both relationships come with risks, but the overall benefit to US objectives in the region outweighs the risks. And I'm sure Suzie will have stuff to talk about with that. But so then we move to an unclassified paragraph saying Gary's Glimpse of the Future brief was well received by the SIGINT committee members. The National SIGINT Committee is located in Washington on L Street Northwest. The permanent members are from the intelligence community, specifically State, Treasury, Energy, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, CIA, DIA, FBI, NRO, Coast Guard, NGA, DHS, and NSA. The National SIGINT Committee assists the DCI and DERNSA on a wide range of SIGINT matters. The committee provides an independent forum for those with SIGINT equities to meet and exchange information, to discuss policy and other issues, to build consensus, and to provide well-reasoned recommendations to the DERNSA and the DCI. And then it says editor's note, see a previous article. And that looks like the end of that. But Suzie, I will be really interested to hear what you have to say about that one, if you're here.
Sure. So that, yeah, of course, that is really interesting. Yeah, I was here, I was watching and listening the whole time. It is definitely interesting, the disclosure that Afghanistan was getting the same SIGINT treatment that Iraq was.
Yeah, so that's what, of course.
We did a whole segment recently where we discovered that NSA had basically established, like re-established, the Iraqi spy service after they bombed the crap out of Iraq and occupied it. So this is the first suggestion I've seen that they gave the same treatment to the Afghanis. So what we saw in Iraq was that the US was supplying the spy equipment, the US were sending them on missions, the US were dispatching Iraqi spies into various areas in Iraq and getting them to report back to the Americans. So what it means is that they become a proxy spy force of the Americans.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. I just got that.
I'm just throwing it into chat as well for everyone to be able to look at themselves. But yeah, no, I think that's really, really interesting and important. And as you said, it builds on what we saw the other day, a couple of episodes ago, when we looked at the way that the Iraqi intelligence service were both controlled and infiltrated, but also that they were used as almost like cannon fodder, and it was just awful. So yeah,
exactly. They just become, and that's the same attitude that we've seen in other previous documents as well, where they have, the NSA openly internally discusses the fact that this extended enterprise, the global network, it exists to funnel the resources of the spy agencies of foreign countries to the benefit of the United States. So they're basically appropriating the funding and resources, human resources, and their technical skill sets and abilities.
Yeah, exactly.
For their own use. But of course, they're not mentioning that fact to these countries. They sell it as a partnership.
Yeah.
We're partners together. But they are openly bragging internally about the fact that what they're doing is, rather than just being limited to the US's budget and resources and abilities, skill sets and staff, they are extending their enterprise into all of these countries. I think over 100 countries worldwide have already been sucked into this giant pyramid scheme of the NSA.
So I think that one is noteworthy for that. Yeah, it's a build. So it's like it's built. It's not a finding in and of itself. It's brand new, but it is really important in building on what we saw just a couple of episodes ago. So since we're seeing this multiple times, I'm going to be interested to see what we find in future documents that will be in the same vein. I think we'll see this again and again.
Sure. So the Olympic side of it, I know the Intercept reported on. The Olympic side of it, I actually think is justifiable. I mean, we don't want to see terrorism events at the Olympics. And yes, they should protect the Olympics. And it's somewhat heartening that they are protecting the Olympics. But that's a totally different case in point to what we're seeing them do.
Absolutely.
With these countries invading and then appropriating the entire spy service of that country.
Yeah, no, the Olympics wasn't something that I was focusing on. I was thinking more about the mention of Afghanistan, and they talked about the fact that it was a risk to invest in these agencies, but that it was worth it. I thought that part of the document was the most interesting to me, but definitely it says to me that there'll be some more interesting stuff in that vein later on. But I will go back to the next document.
Well, I mean, if we look at risks, right? Well, what is Al-Qaeda? Al-Qaeda was born from the US involvement and meddling in Afghanistan and in decades prior. So the risks are that this equipment that they're giving them, the training that they're giving them, if the US loses control of the territory, may then eventually be turned against the US. That's also happened in multiple Latin American countries as well, where they've been trained at School of Americas, given military training by the US and equipment by the US, and then not necessarily remained under the thumb of the US.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the sentence I was referring to says, FAD has moved aggressively to help these countries establish and enhance their SIGINT capabilities. Both relationships come with risks, but the overall benefit to US objectives in the region outweighs the risks. And that was in relation to the Iraqis and Afghans. So Interesting.
So good is saying, well, if those countries don't play ball, then they will start regime change.
Yeah, all over again.
What we saw with Whitman in 1975 in Australia is that, first of all, they'll go after the leadership. They'll go after any leaders who are refusing to play ball with them individually. If they can get rid of them, as they did in Australia, then fine, hunky-dory. But if they're countries where the entire citizenry also does not want to be subjugated by the Americans, then that's where you see the entire country is targeted for destabilization.
Yeah.
Also, East Slider says they never got out of the comms network. It's a good point that they were already in the Iraqi and Afghan comms networks prior to the invasion. They already would have had access to all of the signal side of it. But what they're doing by taking over the spy services, the domestic spy services of those countries, is providing them with the human on the ground, and of a level and quality that it'd be very difficult for them to recruit. So if they can run the entire Afghani spy service and have Afghanis running around doing what they want by the hundreds, that's a totally different power to previously, when they would have had to try and recruit a singular operatives here and there to try and do stuff.
Very much. Definitely. Would you like me to share screen? Oh, sure. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so this one is unclassified and it's titled Reminder, Mapping the Global Future Presentation Today. And it's from Marilyn Maines, Deputy Chief Strategic Intelligence Issues. And I don't know, Suzie, do you want to read this or do you want me to read it? I don't mind.
No, I'm fine, so if you'd like me to.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Mapping the Global Future, very interesting, from Strategic Intelligence Issues.
I thought it sounded kind of interesting.
It does. David Gordon, Acting Chairman of the National Intelligence Council, will brief the NSA workforce on, so it's just promoting a briefing that he's doing, so I'm just going to skip through that. Second paragraph. The NIC 2020 project, so this is the strategic planning project that has been referenced in previous documents, is the third unclassified report prepared by the National Intelligence Council in recent years that takes a long-term look at the future. This study was the result of a series of regional conferences and consultations with NGO experts from 5 continents. To provide additional support to this effort, the NIC constructed an interactive website to facilitate global dialogue and submission of ideas and scenarios from around the world. Now that's pretty advanced for, where are we, 2005?
Yeah, that's where we are.
That is extremely advanced. So they've actually built a web portal for all of these submissions for everybody around the world. The NIC 2020 project presents a new look at how current global trends and key drivers might develop over the next 15 years. The goal of this effort was not to predict the future, but to I think that's exactly what it was actually, but to present a series of alternative scenarios that offer a range of possible futures. 4 fictional scenarios: Davos World, Pax Americana, A New Caliphate, and Cycle of Fear.
Wow, those are some interesting names.
Yeah, they are developed by the NIC and presented for those ready to make a leap of imagination to the future and to prepare for the challenges that this world will present to the intelligence community. Now, A New Caliphate sounds very ISIS.
Yes, and so I think this document is noteworthy simply for those names, for those descriptions, because I don't think we've seen those before, have we?
Sorry, Joseph Smith in chat. It is an entire. Sorry, we've got a whole sub conversation going on in chat about targeting of individuals. The people that you're talking about that are on the ground that do those types of things are not NSA or CIA, actually. They are a vast network of private subcontracting agencies that work with the police agencies, with the public safety boards, for the community policing initiatives that are all authorized under the post 9/11 terrorism legislation. So the people who are stalking you at the street level are the very, very, very low ranks. They're the private investigative agencies, et cetera, and they're just simply reporting up through the police systems. And of course, the intelligence agencies ingest all the data of the police systems, but that's not literally the NSA or the CIA who's harassing you on the street. The NSA and CIA are the ones who are holding everybody's information, and who the police agencies are able to get access some of that information. But what we're dealing with here in these documents is we're looking at the very, very high level. We're looking at the top level of, well, the top level that was able to be accessed, about what the NSA's strategy is in terms of their global network and what they call their extended enterprise. So while it has something to do with the targeting, it's in a more minor way, if that makes sense, by comparison to what you're describing. But there are thousands of people around the world who are describing the types of things that you are, Joseph. So do not feel alone. And please understand this is a friendly place for people like you.
Yeah, and I think
sorry, go ahead.
What I was going to say is that we do sometimes, like, there are times that we do see documents that relate to targeting in a way that is not directly talking about activists, but it'll talk about, as I know you know what I'm talking about, Suzie, when we talked about the fact they were able to geolocate devices, so anybody that walked through a geographic area would be targeted, et cetera, et cetera. But that is always contextualized, usually in the Middle East. And so, but we've been able to look at that and just, critically understand that can also be applied to a protest or activism or, an infinite number of national, local activists and targets. So.
Wow. So I think Elizabeth is right. What we're looking at here primarily is the technical capabilities of the NSA, and specifically related to signals intelligence.
Yeah.
But while their capabilities do affect what people at the ground level can do, they're not literally the same people.
And so a lot of times, from what I understand and from what we've heard from people that have been targeted, it's paramilitary groups. It's not even the military or as you said, the FBI or CIA or whoever. It's like these hired thugs, essentially.
Right. So Mr. K says, wasn't there a TV ad for people to join surveillance of individuals in Canada? So what there was is the CSIS, which is the Canadian equivalent of the FBI or of the New Zealand's SIS, on their official YouTube channel has posted a recruitment video for surveillance operatives. And interestingly, in that video, they are surveilling like everyday citizens. They didn't try and make it about profiling or anything. And of course, they're saying that they're doing it under the counterterrorism banner. So the fact it's on their official channel means that it's completely legit. But the CSIS will be a customer of the CSE, isn't it? The Canadian NSA. Just like the FBI is a customer of the NSA, just like the New Zealand SIS is working with the GCSB in New Zealand, and MI6, isn't it, with GCHQ in Britain. So that's kind of the division of powers. Like the spy agencies hold all of the capabilities, and then the police agencies are able to access certain portions of that information, or to specifically, in the terms of how it's described in these documents, customers, such as these police agencies, can make an information needs request to the intelligence agency. But it's not the intelligence agency that is targeting you, it's the customer who is targeting you, and then they are accessing the information of the intelligence agency in order to perpetuate their targeting of you. And those police agencies, or those domestic police agencies, have subcontracting agencies. They work with private intelligence agencies, they work with private investigators, they work with community policing networks. And these are the types of people who are the ones harassing you on the street and doing all the nasty things to you and whatnot. The NSA and the CIA are tools. They're tools of their masters, and their masters in this case are their customers.
Sorry, I was just firing off a tweet because I'm still, as I'm like retweeting our stream and everything, I'm still getting people going, Assange is fine. He's in the US or Switzerland or whatever. So I'm having to go and reply and say, no, that's
he's not fine.
Yeah, exactly. So it's actually really sad because people would rather believe something that makes them feel better, and it's actually really harmful to breed complacency like that. So I don't want to get off on a side tangent, but that's what I was typing about. So.
I was actually going to cut the stream quite short tonight because I would also like to go and see Chomsky and Daniel Ellsberg. I think that would be amazing viewing. And I'm sorry for that little diversion, but hopefully we actually did just help that person to understand a little
absolutely
better what was going on with them. And for those of you who didn't see it, it's on my Twitter timeline. But yet another anti-TPP activist has stepped forward today and done a video talking about having been aggressively targeted by private security agencies and intelligence agencies purely for their activism and for their political opinion. So there are just, I mean, I'm contacted every single day of the week by people from countries all around the world who are experiencing exactly the same thing. So this is a really huge deal, and I believe now it is inevitable that it's going to be blown wide open. Okay, let's try and do a couple more docs, and then we'll maybe wrap it at past.
Awesome. Let me just close the one we're on. Mapping global futures. I know we're getting about halfway into the stream when I stop being able to pronounce anything. 1 second. Okay, so all eyes on the counterintelligence conference. Interesting. Suzie, do you want to read this one?
Sure. From the production manager of counterintelligence and human support. Second annual Five Eyes Counterintelligence Conference was held in March in Cheltenham, England. Top secret. The theme of the conference, jointly hosted by NSA and GCHQ, was towards a joint understanding of counterintelligence, forging common ground and partnerships. Participants in the conference held true to realizing the theme as each of the 5 partners were prepared for substantive and honest discussions about their respective counterintelligence programs, a marked change from the first conference, which was held here at NSA last April and could best be described as exploratory. I led the NSA delegation and was accompanied by somebody, someone else, and someone else from my product line, something from the NTOC, something from the NSACC, and something from the FAD, the Foreign Affairs Directorate. Also top secret. Below, please find a short summary of the conference, which was prepared by someone else, my counterpart at GCHQ, and which she shared with her senior leadership. From my perspective, the conference was truly a success, and we look forward to following through with actions that would drive blah, blah, blah. Short summary from GCHQ, top secret. It was heartening to see how the levels of commitment from the non-UK and US partners had raised considerably since last year, with significant signs of topic maturity shown by agency representatives, in particular Canada.
Interesting.
Now, Canada, we will remember, were the ones who were saying it's so important to maintain a healthy relationship between blah, blah. You remember all the medical analogies that they use?
I do. I remember that was really nausea-inducing reading those particular documents. I remember that.
A well-pitched and informative keynote address by SIS, the British Security Intelligence Service. See, now that is the domestic agency in the US, which is the same name as the New Zealand SIS. Provided clarification of human requirements from SIGINT and set just the right scene for cross-partner discussion. The range of traditional counterintelligence topics discussed was extended to include a half-day briefing on how electronic attack is viewed
that's interesting.
in each agency.
Wow.
A good airing for the SIGINT information assurance hinge.
Well, I'm wondering though. I mean, I know what I think of when I hear electronic attack, but I don't know do they mean like what I think they mean, or are they talking about, hacking or something?
Look, I want to show you something that's really interesting. Do you
want me to stop share
for a minute?
Okay,
yeah, that'd be cool because it's on this topic. So the other day, let me just find the tweet really fast.
Are you going to go to a certain Steemit link?
No, this is actually on Twitter. Give me a second. I'm just actually going to find it.
No problem.
Sometimes you can learn so much from who comes at you to try to convince you you're wrong about something, whether it's about Julian Assange or whatever else. You learn what the priorities are of those who oppose us, what is most important to them to debunk.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
So,
That's
so
true.
with Julian, they're obsessed with debunking that he's arbitrarily detained. So that's why you're detained. So that's why you always hear he's free to leave at any time. He's free to leave at any time. He's free to leave at any time, because their number one thing is that they do not want to admit that he's arbitrarily detained because of the legal ramifications. So I did this entire thread the other day about DWs and how they're going to break into the mainstream.
Yeah, I saw that. I remember
and I talked about electronic warfare, and I talked about a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm just going to take you guys through this thread because somebody came at me about one of the points and came at me as if they were someone who really knew a lot about it. And the specific point that they jumped on and that they were trying to convince me I was wrong about was the connection between direct energy weapons and electronic warfare designation to General Hayden. Because in one of the Snowden documents, we read that about NSA's involvement with electronic warfare.
Yeah.
And when I'd gone and researched electronic warfare, it specifically included activities on the electromagnetic magnetic spectrum, which includes directed energy weapons and ties in with all the other WikiLeaks files and everything else that we've learned about it and knew about it. And this person was absolutely emphatic that DEWs do not fall under the electronic warfare category, that they're completely unrelated. And I'm just quickly going to find it and show it to you because I found it, the whole line of questioning was just so revealing. Okay, here's the thread. Now, the amazing thing about this is that this Twitter thread actually got like so far like 360 retweets or something, which for it to be about directed energy weapons and to have 360 retweets is truly remarkable, because this topic was considered to be taboo. This was the taboo topic for journalists, taboo topic for activists. So I said, prediction, major stories are going to break into the mainstream in 2018, including the international network of intelligence contractors known as gang stalkers, and the prevalent use of directed energy weapons will move out of conspiracy theory and into mainstream acknowledgement.
And it's also interesting. It's interesting that we've actually addressed both halves of that tweet in this one episode, where we have Joseph earlier talking about the gang stalking and intelligence contractors and explaining that, and now we're moving into the energy weapons aspect of it. So it's kind of interesting. But
definitely. So for 2 years now, thanks to WikiLeaks, we've known which defense contractors manufacture the weapons, who they're sold by, what military and police units have been buying them, and that they've been operationally tested and deployed since 2014. From the Snowden files, we know that and this is the tweet that this person jumped on.
Yeah.
From the Snowden files, we know that General Hayden himself, ex-CIA director and NSA director, was in charge of electronic warfare and other hideous, immoral things. And that was 10 years prior to the eventual rollout of electronic weapons to law enforcement.
Yeah.
So if we look here on the replies, oh, why isn't it showing me?
Oh, that's because it reacted as if you were going to reply. If you just click on the left side, no, that's gonna, yeah, click there if you can.
It's
okay.
not doing anything. Oops. Okay.
Because
I was able to find it manually because I was talking to him. I was referencing Joint Chiefs of Staff. Here we go. Yeah. So here is the thread. So he came at me, this person, Agoras Institute, Global Agoras. So they responded and they said, while there are indeed plenty of nefarious tools in the Black Ops world, electronic warfare does not mean that here. Electronic warfare just means tools like comms jamming, counter surveillance, GPS and airwave signal disruption, not offensive attacks. To which I linked them to the definition of electronic warfare as per Wikipedia, which says it is any action involving the use of the electromagnetic spectrum or directed energy to control the spectrum, attack of an enemy, or impede enemy assaults. So it's not just defensive, it includes attacks, and it does cover directed energy, and it does cover anything on the electromagnetic spectrum. To which they replied, well, this is Wikipedia, somebody added that, to just basically discredit the source. Directed energy is not an electronic warfare program. It is considered a separate function. And then linked me to a PDF that I'm absolutely not clicking on. And then, so I went and pulled the site from Wikipedia, and the site is, sure enough, from the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the Armed Forces of the United States. And sure enough, it specifically says exploiting, shaping, disrupting, and exploiting adversarial use of the electromagnetic spectrum. So, and it says it's using offensive and defensive to do so. So at this point, I'm going to believe the Joint Chiefs of Staff on this. But then they've come back and said, no, that's just a strategic statement and doesn't define how electronic warfare combines with directed energy. But I'm sorry, it's very, very clear that both of those things are connected. They say it's out of context. It's possible at joint level, blah, blah, blah. Okay. They say if I was right, it would be a terrifying.
What they're actually giving away there, but they said, but in the U.S. Air Force, they are not joint. That means that they're giving away that they're from the Air Force, actually, right?
Correct.
There. Yeah. So.
Correct.
I mean,
but
whether they're still in the Air Force, who knows? But. Right,
but the Air Force is not involved in the street level targeting stuff. This comes from the FBI side and counterterrorism side of things anyway.
Yeah.
But they also admitted that if I was correct, it would be a terrifying direction. Well, absolutely. I don't know. To me, it's less terrifying the more that we know about it and the more that we connect people who've been going through it. I think it becomes less terrifying to us because we start to see that we can actually do something about it.
Yeah, I mean, the first time that I became aware of these types of weapons was really when I saw them being the white noise, but also these types of things being used at the DAPL protests. Not from the perspective of being there, but just seeing the posts of the pictures of it on social media is very clear that the law enforcement was using those weapons at that point. So it's kind of irrefutable.
It brings up a really great point, Elizabeth, because there are large-scale versions of these weapons. For example, the LRAD sound cannon is they roll it out and they do it to like 3,000 people at a time. Like it's meant to be deployed against big crowds and large numbers of people. The DEWs are like handheld versions. So rather than them having to roll it in on the back of a truck and it be able to put out enough decibels to blow out the eardrums of 3,000 people, the handheld weapons can be used, with a 50-meter range instead of a 2-kilometer range. And they can be used to target the eardrums of 2, 5, 10 people instead of 3,000 people. And that's one of the big misnomers, I think, when people surely they couldn't be doing this to people. Surely they wouldn't be using these torture devices. You just made a really valid point, which is that we've already got the public evidence that they're doing it en masse.
I can't even imagine, how are you going to refute that? You can literally see the machines rolling out on these, what look like tanks. I mean, it's very, very, very just concretely clear. I mean, unless we're supposed to just disbelieve our eyes and completely, there's no way that you can explain that away. So
exactly, and so if they're prepared to do it to 3,000 people and they're rolling it down the street on the back of a truck, why would we believe that they wouldn't do it to one person or 2 people in their house?
Yeah, well, and I think as well, I mean, and not to conflate like noise machines with energy weapons, but I remember as well hearing about the Bernie supporters that were in the Democratic convention and they were placed under white noise machines to counter their booing, and I mean, it just goes on and on. It's been used a lot. Yeah, like they were seated, and they have pictures of them. They look exactly like some of the stuff that you saw in the Dakota Access Pipeline protests. You could see these white noise machines placed just above the Bernie seats. So really, it's definitely not something that's being used only to combat terrorism. I guess I'd put it that way.
Definitely not.
Obviously.
Burton's just said that USA's best friend is Israel, who openly execute protesters. That US forces train with the Israelis. Absolutely the same with the New Zealand forces. We had a whole bunch of our developers and internet infrastructure guys shipped off to Israel from New Zealand to be trained in all of this technology. So
interesting. Yeah, that's really worrying.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. It's a very valid point that the services are being trained by countries which have absolutely no hesitation in openly executing journalists and protesters. So is it really that difficult to believe that journalists and protesters or dissidents can be targeted on their home soil? Absolutely not. The other point that I would make is that when Bush, and I've said this before, but I think it's worth saying again, when Bush stood up and told the entire world, he literally said, the globe is the battlefield. The world is the battlefield. We will hunt you down wherever you are. He wasn't just talking about armed militants. This has been the agenda all along, and that's what this entire global network and extended enterprise is about that we're studying. It's not just about the usurping of the agency's resources. That's just one benefit. But the other benefit is that it opens the doors and gives the US intelligence agencies open access, not just electronic open access, but physical access to all of these lands. And that's why we saw in my own case that it was when I got out of the NATO countries that all of a sudden I can actually walk down the street and, be all right, and that I can actually live peacefully because it's one of the few countries left where they can't get away with doing it. One of the very few countries left.
And that actually brings us once again back to Julian Assange, who is being held in the middle of what should be a liberal Western democracy. And I think that, again and again, you see the hypocrisy of the West's pretense to actually live up to these liberal ideas. It's just the hypocrisy of it is laid bare over and over and over again. And it's unfortunate, but that's the reality. And that doesn't have to say that doesn't say that therefore Russia or Iran are perfect or that they're good. It just means that what the West has kind of promoted as its moral authority is not real. It's not in practice. It doesn't exist. So that's the only point that is made by that, I think. But I think that the fact that the way that the way our culture is kind of designed, we grow up, joining or rooting for sports teams or political parties. And so when you say, oh, I don't like what the Democrats did, somebody automatically thinks, therefore, that you must be for the Republicans, and on and on and on. And it expands to saying, well, the West is really revealing its hypocrisy. Well, you must be against the West, or you must be for the opposite. And that is such a problem, I think, in the way that we talk about things. And you see it right now with the Syria narrative. And when you say, hey, what the West is saying about what happened in Syria is patently, obviously false, therefore you must be, and then you're portrayed then as pro-Assad. It's just endless is I guess the way I'd describe that problem. But anyway, sorry to rant. It just really occurs to me how much of a problem that is.
I'm just seeing all the awesome tweets that people are sending. Thank you guys so much for promoting the stream, because you guys are all we've got to promote it. So thank you. Yeah. And really cool to see Mr. K dropping historical docs and stuff as well on the threads. Well done. Very, very cool. You guys are amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people retweeting and tweeting. It's been awesome.
Yeah, they're tweeting screen caps as well of the docs. It's really, really fantastic. Really fantastic.
I think I read your sarcasm. I disbelieve what you're saying right there. But yeah, I hate to rant about the whole subject with Assange. I know that we've all heard a lot about it, but it's just a lot of the stuff that we cover in Decipher You does circle back around to that situation. So
Julian Assange is a targeted individual.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think a lot of people in the targeted individual community, they think of it as being, us everyday activists, etc. They don't realize the extent to which it can apply to someone who's as visible as Julian.
Yeah.
But Julian, in many ways, Julian is the ultimate targeted individual because he's being targeted in front of the entire world. The entire world is watching what's happening to him.
Exactly.
It's like a giant object lesson for everybody. But what really heartens me is that even though we're all being shown, you know, this example of what happens to you if you're courageous and if you're a truth teller, it doesn't deter us, it inspires us. And I don't think these agencies realize all of their high-tech weaponry and their budgets and their laws and all their bells and whistles and their everything else, and we still don't want to be on their side. We still act on principle, even if no matter what it costs us. We still are prepared to be on the moral side and on the side of right. And so
Absolutely.
Julian is not the deterrence case that they would like him to be. To the contrary, he is a massive inspiration. He's an inspiration for people all around the world. And with all the time and resources that they spend targeting him, there's a million other people rising up because of what he has done. So
Definitely.
I think that's phenomenal.
Definitely. And I think that's actually one reason that they're so invested in saying over and over again, oh, he can just leave, because if they admit that the state is actually attacking him, then it becomes much more clear who the bad guy is, and they have to keep trying to make Assange the bad guy. And so, you know, on, and we can talk about that at length, but yeah.
Well, we're going to be doing a lot more talking about Julian, and I'm going to leave it at that. But I told you guys that we've got something up our sleeves, and we certainly do have something up our sleeves, as the state knows full well. Okay. Should we leave it at that for tonight? Because it's past, and I think in 30 minutes.
Sure.
Yeah, sorry, we didn't get through a lot of docs, but we did have a good discussion.
Yeah, I think we made good use of the documents that we looked at. I think we talked about them not too much, but enough, sort of thing. So
I agree, totally. So just a couple of things. You might have noticed that today we were only 5 minutes late for the stream, instead of our usual 30 minutes late for the stream or 60 minutes late for the stream. I hope that you guys didn't have a heart attack when you saw that we were like so close to being on time. But I am really trying to not let my 10 other projects and my domestic situation and whatever else get me here late. We're really trying to actually be on time for you guys. So we will be here on Friday, and we'll be here at the exact time that we're supposed to be here. Thank you guys. There's like 100 amazingly complimentary comments. Thank you all. Like, we really, really, really appreciate it. Please, it's been amazing to see this audience start to grow, because 5 minutes late is punctual, says Crocodile. It's been amazing to see this audience start to grow, because I really just only ever thought it would be like a couple of my friends, you know, just keeping me company while I was reading through documents and doing journalism. It's a beautiful thing to see this grow into a real community and to see more and more people showing up every time. So thank you for telling everybody about this. Thank you for your tweets about it. Thank you for caring about these issues, and thank you for being here with us. I deeply, deeply appreciate it. I'd also like to say, on a personal note, I was seriously up shit creek last week, and amazing supporters of my work actually donated to me and helped me out in a really big way. And I want to say thank you guys for that. Really, genuinely thank you. Because for many years I did my activism, I never asked for a cent because I was able to be self-reliant. But unfortunately, I've been sinking under I have legal fees and things that I have to pay for living in exile that are just way beyond my means too, because while I'm an asylum seeker, I can't legally work. I literally have to live on the generosity of other people, which is something that I don't find very pleasant. And I really hate it, because I liked to be the person who everybody came to for help and who I could look after other people. And my house was like a place of refuge in New Zealand for activists and for targets. So to have the shoe on the other foot and be the one that needs the help has been like quite a humbling experience for me. But I would like you to know that it totally transformed the way that I felt, to see people totally of their own volition just reaching out and helping me. So thank you so much. It means the world to know that people actually do care about me, and that people actually do have my back, and that they actually helping to keep me in one piece. You're helping to keep me safe. You really are. so and not just me, because I, like, as most of you know, I have 2 children as well. So you are helping to keep us safe and in one piece, and I deeply, deeply, deeply appreciate that. Thank you so much. On that note, is there anything else you want to say, Elizabeth?
Yeah, were we going to decide a third day of the week to meet up?
Right. Yeah, right. Okay, so that's the other thing, is that we've been talking about it, and we feel that as you guys, I mean, most of you guys probably know this, but I'll restate it. Over the last week, major mainstream platforms, BBC, Times in the UK, I know Sydney Morning Herald and or Fairfax is, I think, up to it next, and other major platforms have been systematically attacking, naming and attacking and attempting to smear truth-telling journalists. Vanessa Beeley, and there's a whole bunch of them, as you guys know, Partisan Girl, and anyone
who we covered, who a lot of, I noticed a number of people that we actually were looking to for news on the bombings or the missile strikes on Syria. They are now being specifically targeted. And I thought that was horrifying, but yeah.
Very true. And the reason that that's interesting is because they would much rather black out and pretend those people don't exist. But and Jimmy Dore, Jimmy Dore.
Yeah, Jimmy Dore. Yeah, of course. Definitely.
So the media's like status quo position is to pretend that those big alternative media audiences and hosts don't exist. But they are taking it on, tackling them and smearing them because they have no choice, because the alternative... Oh, hold on.
So yeah, I'll just continue.
Pick it up, Elizabeth. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. So what Suzie was going to get to anyway is that what we've decided is that because of all the smearing that's happening, and because of the importance right now with what Assange is going through as well, it's even more important to look at these documents that have not only supported anti-establishment media, but are the product of people like Snowden and, also like WikiLeaks, who have, given up everything so that we can have this primary source material on the actions of our governments and the corruption that runs them. So in respect of that, we wanted to add a third day of the week to our schedule. And so before we're just deciding arbitrarily which day based on just us, we thought we'd ask you guys which day of the week you'd like to see another day of Decipher You, because right now, obviously, we do Tuesday and Friday. And a lot of people, myself included, sometimes get it confused with Tuesday, Thursday. But so, yeah, if there's any particular day that works best for you all that you think would be good for us to add a third day, we're open to that. And we'd like to kind of hear from you. That's why we're bringing this up, as opposed to just telling you. We wanted to ask, what would work best. So I'm just literally looking at chat for any response, because, okay, Larica says Saturday. Does that, literally just sound off, because we're just open to whatever works for you all. It would probably need to be the same time that we meet, like in the evening, my time, and the early morning, Suzie's time. So 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Okay. Yeah. Poll on Twitter. That's a great idea too. Yeah. But we also wanted to hear specifically from the people that are in chat with us, not just that, are on Twitter that follow either Suzie or myself, but the people that are in this chat with us are the ones that we want to hear from the most. So that's why we thought we'd bring it up now. Okay. We're getting a lot of Saturdays. That's fantastic. That would actually work, I think, really well with my schedule. I don't know about Suzie's schedule, but any night, and the Fly says any night except Sunday and Monday. And of course, and that's another reason we wanted to bring this up here, is because, a lot of our supporters, our really close supporters, are performing the type of function that would usually be paid in a quote real news organization. So their schedules and your schedules mean a lot to us, and we have to figure those in to when we can operate, because really, truly, if it wasn't for you all with us, we would not be functional, like on social media and etc. So it looks like I like Luca's comment, Suzie Day and Fly Day, but yeah, Saturday. Okay. So I hope that works with most of us. Sunday, obviously, Fly will be busy. Monday, Fly will be busy.
Unfortunately, Saturday is the one day that I can't do because I have other commitment. Sorry, because I know that seemed to work for a lot of people. Also, it would be really helpful for me personally if we could do like three days in a row of Decipher You a week, whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's a lot easier for me to arrange my other commitments and stuff around if I can just use one block of the week for Decipher You.
Yeah, Propaganda Sunday, Fly can't do that, and so we rely on Fly a lot. So we're going to have to respect their schedule there. Yeah, because right now it's Tuesday, Friday, so we could do something like Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. We could do Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, or we could shift it from Tuesday to Wednesday and go straight through. I don't mind. It's whatever works with you all.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I would love Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That would be perfect for me. Yeah, the Crocodile's saying not over the weekend. Yeah, I can't do the weekend. I mean, Friday's okay, but I can't do the rest of the weekend. So, unless it's like, if it's one weekend every now and then for, you know, a special event or whatever, that's fine, but not routinely. Okay, let's, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Vote yes for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
That works. So that means that we won't be meeting on Tuesday anymore. We'll just have to mark off in
I mean USA.
schedule.
This is true. So if you're in New Zealand, for the Kiwis, this is actually going to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday for you guys. Okay, that's a lot of yeses. A lot of people just type yes in chat. Thank you all. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, should we start that from next week? So we'll still do our usual Friday this week, just to like wrap it up.
Yeah, that sounds fine. So
Elizabeth,
we'll just
can you do that? Can you do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday?
Yes, that'll be fine. So just getting straight here. So we will just meet on Friday this week as we would usually, and then next week we'll start Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Is that what I'm hearing? I just want to make sure I'm understanding that correctly.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's
and
that'll give me till next week to get Bean to change out all the graphics for us so that it has the correct days and time.
Awesome. Perfect.
Cool. Do you guys have any questions? Do you have anything that you want to ask us before we go? You have like 22 minutes. If there's any burning questions for Elizabeth or I, we're happy to answer them.
That's a fantastic emoji, Shelley. I love it. I don't know where you found that, cool. But it's great.
I think MO5 Handle's asking, can we set a timeline, e.g. Greenwich Mean Time? I think if you look at our graphics for this, it's got PDT and EST. What I can do is on the new graphics, I will put Auckland, Sydney, London, Moscow, Berlin, Los Angeles, New York. So that will give you a local time or a close time for most people. Okay, next question. Do we ever summarize our findings? Yes, we do summarize our findings. You will find them on decipheryou.com.
And on Disobedient Media. There is a website specifically set up by Suzie for these findings. And, I write with Disobedient Media. I do write up a longer form article on these findings as regularly as is possible. So.
See you, East Slider. Thank you.
And thank you, Eric.
Somebody else is asking, how is Jacob Applebaum doing? Is he okay after he was smeared so badly? I can't answer that, but I believe he has a good crowd of friends who really care about him and who are doing everything they can to look after him. And he is still completing his PhD in the Netherlands. That's the last that I heard about Jake. Next one, is the Discord still open to people? I don't want to impose, but I'd like to help with whatever I can. Yes, the Discord is open to people. Now, what people may not realize is I've actually got multiple different Discord servers for different purposes where I've got different groups of people working together on different stuff. So if you are a Steemit user, I have a Steemit user group, a Discord server for them, where we share and upvote and help promote each other's work. So if you are on Steemit, send me a DM on Twitter is definitely the best way to get hold of me. Ask me for the Steam It user group and I'll add you to that. We also have the Internet Party Discord server, which is where we organize events and things related to Internet Party. And that's the biggest server that I've got, the most amount of people. So you're welcome to join that if you care specifically about Internet Party and helping Internet Party to do stuff. And we usually post about Decipher You in there as well. And anything related to events usually goes in there. And then I also have access to Ramola's server for targeted individuals. So if you are a target and you want other targets to talk to about your experiences, then you can contact me, and there will be like a degree of vetting in terms of making sure that you're legit, because it's a group of very vulnerable people, and they do look after each other very well. And then if you would like to join that, if this is a situation you're also going through, then I can offer for you to be invited to that group as well. But yeah, Discord's pretty amazing for that. I'm also in a couple of other Discord groups, like the MSP server for the largest Steemit server is like 20,000 users. My Steemit group is probably only, I don't know, like 50 people or something. But it's a pretty powerful little group, actually. It's doing a really good job at promoting each other. Okay, let me see. So yes, SoGrid, just drop me a DM on Twitter and let me know what Discord channel you're interested in, and I will bring you on board and you can work with some people. Brian Crosby says, can Wednesdays have guests? I think that a lot of people would like to see a guest, interview type style show with me and Elizabeth. We have not been doing that so far because we've been involved with, doing events related to WikiLeaks and Julian, or events related to our journalism, or Decipher You. So this isn't a format where we invite guests, but we may do something like that down the line. But this is very much a collaborative research project. Yeah. Now I'm the one getting tongue-tied after having talked for so long on stream. This is like an OSINT community, and it's a very unique undertaking. We have not found anything else in the world that is doing anything like what we're doing here, which is basically live journalism online and research online. So we're going to stick to this format to get through the rest of those Snowden docs and then move on to some WikiLeaks files as well. So no, there won't be guests, sorry. You're stuck with just me and Elizabeth for now. But we'll see. Maybe eventually the team will expand. Maybe eventually we'll have other hosts. I'm not sure. We'll see.
I think it would be amazing. I think that the place for guests in Decipher You is the people that have brought us these documents or have worked to bring us these documents in any way, like the people associated with publishing. I think that would be helpful, because that's the focus of Decipher You, as far as I understand it, is that we are trying to really make use of this information that's been given to us. So totally. That would be my only thought on guests. Other stuff like, whether it's generally supporting WikiLeaks or any other effort, I think those would have to be separate to Decipher You. But that's just my opinion.
I feel about Decipher You like I've been at it for years. Like it's this project that's gone on and on and on and on. I think I feel that way because I've been studying the docs for years. But in actual fact, when I was going back through my timeline today, the very first ever tweets about the first episodes are like November of last year. So it's only been like 5 months. Like it feels like it's been going for so long. It's actually really a short period of time. And I mean, and we had a lot of breaks across that period too, with the holiday period and everything else that's been happening. So I'm really excited to see where this could be by the end of this year, or by middle of next year. I think there's a natural progression occurring. And it's really cool. And I'm also interested to see how it can influence other people and other journalists to work more openly and to maybe adopt this format.
Definitely.
So Fly says, how does it feel to be so awesome, Suzie and Elizabeth? My response is, we are nothing without you. Like Fly, we're nothing without you, honestly, without everybody who has flocked around us and had our backs and worked with us and been a part of it. You guys are amazing. They're really cool. We've come so far from me just laying in bed reading documents by myself. We've come very far from that.
And no, Marbriton 8, these documents are published by The Intercept. They're the SID Today files that were leaked by Edward Snowden. But as Suzie said earlier, once we get through the batches that have been made publicly available by The Intercept, we will hopefully be looking into some WikiLeaks releases as well. Because the issue with WikiLeaks is that there's so much. I mean, you could spend multiple lifetimes looking into the WikiLeaks documents and you would never be able to look through them all. So that's the only issue there. But yeah, so WikiLeaks will be something that we hopefully do get to at some point.
Joy Electric asked some question about Podesta emails, but I don't understand what he or she is asking. They say, what about the code language of the Podesta email? Then I'm sorry, I totally don't understand where that's coming from.
Yeah, I know what they're talking about. You know, I think that's a subject that's covered in a lot of places with a lot of different opinions on it. It's not something that we've looked at this point. We've been, as I said, we're looking into Decipher of the Snowden files from the SID Today files. So.
Bullshit man, you definitely haven't heard the last of that visual. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, as far as Pedogate, as Fly is, that's what the mention about codes was referring to. You know, Disobedient Media has covered human trafficking, child trafficking, sexual abuse issues multiple times, and not just in the sense of the US, but also international child trafficking and abuse of charities for that purpose. So if you are interested in that, then I would suggest that you read some of the stuff at Disobedient Media about it, and you know, beyond that, research. So it's definitely a real serious issue. So.
Fat Cat in the Lobbyist says, do you think PRISM and X-Keyscore and those types of programs could be used for massive insider stock trading, especially since they've proven incapable of controlling this information? In short, yes. I would say yes, absolutely. Are we to believe that the people who spy on their girlfriends, you know, through X-Keyscore and PRISM and other things that they absolutely should not be using those systems to do, are we to believe that they wouldn't be curious to know, you know, what's really going on in the companies that they're investing in or in anything else? And I think at the executive level, even more so, we look at, there's just hundreds of documents that relate to economic spying. One of the great lies out of the intelligence agencies is that they do not spy for economic benefit. We have seen document after document after document that proves that that is not true and that is not the case. So absolutely, I believe that there's large-scale insider trading as a result of people having access to classified information. And none more so are guilty of that than the US government itself, the Department of Treasury itself. They are, and not just them, even with the, you know, all of the other departments, right down to like Department of Agriculture and Monsanto and all of those guys. I believe that intelligence information is filtering through the customer information needs portal. They are able to access classified information for their own enrichment. Absolutely. I believe that the largest corporations are benefiting directly from that information, as well as government departments. So that is a big yes to the insider trading question.
And the person that brought up Pedogate earlier asked about Oxfam, and my answer to that is I've specifically written about that, and I've linked the article on that to you. But if you didn't see that, then go to Disobedient Media and just search Oxfam in the search bar. You'll see it. So.
Hey, bullshit man, I saw like a video that you did last week, and it was like really slickly edited, and you had like awesome graphics and just really like cool, like professional standard of production. And that's the type of thing that I'm completely incapable of doing myself because I suck at video editing so badly. I have got one person who is helping to do some editing work related to some past content, but we don't have anyone for Decipher you specifically. If you're willing, I don't know if you have the time or the resources, but if you were willing to do some like short video editing work for promotional videos for Decipher you, that would make me a very, very happy human. So let me know if you're interested in that. That would be really, really cool. Fat Cat and the lobbyist says, so these programs could be the greatest national security threats to us. Well, absolutely, because what are the greatest threats to national security, is international security, is the wars. And the income inequality and the environmental devastation and all of these things trace back to the manipulations and the profiteering of the customers of the intelligence agencies. So yes, absolutely, I absolutely believe that I believe that if we defunded these intelligence agencies in whole tomorrow, that there would be immediate massive benefits for the entire globe. I sincerely believe that, because at the end of the day, they are not catching rapists. They are not capturing murderers. They are not capturing, bank robbers. They are going after economic gain, military advantage, and the suppression of targeting and suppression of people based on political opinion. So Burton says, cut the NSA's water. That was one of the greatest ideas, and that was something that Jacob Applebaum used to say all the time, was that they should cut the water to the, take direct action at the Utah data facility. I completely agree with that. I completely agree with it. I think what they're doing, there was never any legal or moral justification for. I believe it's a violation of their charter and of the founding premises of the agencies. I believe it's a violation of the public interest, and absolutely shut the fuckers down. That's what I think, quite frankly. Question, just to clarify, is Julian Assange really being run by his campaign? Kathy, I think that because they linked to a DM25 tweet that had a beautiful infographic of Julian, I think they were just trying to show people that picture. The campaign they were referring to was not DM25 campaigners running Julian's account. They were saying that Julian's campaign now is running it. Now, Julian's campaign is the justiceforassange.com campaign. It's the solidarity campaign for Julian, which has been running for years and years and years, which involves his lawyers and his legal advocates and WikiLeaks staff, etc. So I'm not sure. I kind of understand why people got confused, but it was abundantly obvious to me that it's people who have been close to Julian for a long time who now have access to his account, and I'm really glad that they do, because it's a waste of the platform otherwise. It should be used to advocate for him, and I'm very pleased that that's exactly what's happening now. Okay, you guys, chat's kind of run away on me now. There's too many comments. Is there anything else, like super pressing, guys? Did I miss anything? Oh, thank you, Bullshit Man. That's fantastic news. That's really awesome news. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, we're going to wrap it there. And in 6 minutes, it is Chomsky and the godfather, the grandfather of whistleblowers, Daniel Ellsberg.
Absolutely. Amazing people.
Oh, I had
amazing conversation.
Very, very briefly seeing him in Berlin. And he's quite an amazing guy to still be traveling around doing the advocacy work that he is at his age. Likewise with Chomsky, actually. Okay, thank you all. Thank you for being amazing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. And thank you for helping to keep me in one piece. And we will see you on Friday.
Yeah.
And then we will get some updated promo graphics for next week. And from next week on, we'll do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Everyone's saying thank you to us. Thank you back. Thank you for being here.
Appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.
Night, night, you guys.